Oh, it's a lot bigger than that.
Good evening, madame and gentlemen.
What's that noise?
I am the main dish of the day. May I interest you in parts of my body?
The beauty of it is, it just keeps growing. How much we cut it.
All right.
Welcome, drugged up, immobile hunks of meat. Wonder how well that describes the Doctor Who viewing audience. This is episode 442 of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 1st of March 2022, and featuring Meat, written by Catherine Chigena, and starring John Barrowman as Jack Harkness, Eve Miles as Gwen Cooper, Bern Gorman as Owen Harper, Naoko Mori as Toshiko Sato, Gareth David-Lloyd as Yanto Jones, and Kai Owen as Reese Williams. I am Bill Sylvia, the one in black, and with me are Alex Fireheart.
Just when you thought you'd gotten away from long cast listings.
And Mad Matt Winchell.
Tasty meats.
We have bad news and good news for Randy Ronson McCulloch. The bad news is that he's not with us tonight and will not be giving his thoughts on the episode until next week. The good news is that he seems to be home and well, just tired, and therefore should be with us next week unless something new happens.
Crossing fingers, knock on wood.
Right?
Yeah.
My end table that I keep my keyboard and my microphone on is made out of wood.
So, I didn't think these worth including in the news separately, but two bits of things I figure are worth mentioning are that all of the questionably canon MCU shows are moving to Disney Plus, along with the parental restrictions. So I guess they're going to be behind a wall to block the kids from watching them. And also, Pokemon has announced Generation 9. So, great way to take the wind out of the sails of a super popular game a month after its release.
I wonder how many people are actually going to buy it compared to demanding more of the current one that just came out.
So, based on the trailer, the graphics engine looks like it looks like they're using the same engine as Legends Arceus. The graphics look like, if anything, they're an updated version of that. But I have no idea what the gameplay is going to be like, because for Legends Arceus, they really simplified the battle system in a way that would fuck up PvP completely. I think it's good. It's good, I think, for single player, but for the many, many people that play PvP, it just would not work out. So I'm very curious what they kept and what they did not keep.
Do a lot of people play PvP on those? Because I never did.
There are people who, I mean, there's still regional and national and world competitions. I don't know what the prizes are.
Okay. Yeah, PvP for Pokemon just never really interested me. I gave
Same
a
here.
try back in the day and just never thrilled.
I'm definitely a single player JRPG person.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I've actually been eyeing up a couple of Pokemon-like games on Steam and have wishlisted them recently. Because I think for a reason another one popped up, and I'm like, actually, that doesn't look half bad. And it's kind of It's like a side-scrolling adventure game, but it actually does have turn-based combat like Pokemon, and you collect monsters like Pokemon. So it's like, sure, that might work.
I know there was one game that was being advertised. I'm assuming it's still out being advertised, but it's like a fully 3D Pokemon game that looks really great until you realize it's made with NFTs and shit. And
oh dear God, well that's going to die a horrible death in 5 months.
Near that.
Actually, it's not even 5 months. That's going to die a horrible death in less than a month. Fuck NFTs.
Mm-hmm. Well, any gaming YouTuber that had a sponsorship with them quickly got informed by their audience and dropped the shit. So
the fact that music got attached to NFTs just made everyone I know cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tried doing that, and a lot of people immediately went, "Nope."
Yeah.
Other than that, I've worked every day since last week Thursday.
Oh.
Double check that. Yeah. Thursday, yep. I've worked every day since last week Thursday. Today, I started to literally physically burn out by the time I got home.
New car for Matt coming soon?
No, new computer. $4,000 computer that's on sale for roughly $3,500 and handmade by ex-military. So I trust them to put together properly.
Okay. So it's the custom job, or
actually they do custom jobs, and they do have some custom jobs that they pre-build for people if people are interested.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
But yeah, that's I'm looking at one of their pre-build ones that they did themselves, and it's like, yes, I think so.
So it's not something you have a risk of. Oh, the motherboard is on back order, and now you have to wait 9 months for it to get here.
No, yeah, these guys should be putting it together themselves, making sure it works before they send it out to me. And I can also buy extra equipment from them if the computer itself also turns out well. They sell keyboards and monitors and mouses and other things.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, if things continue to go well, I might be going through them, especially since I just found out that Newegg has been lying to people and sending faulty motherboards and stuff to people and then trying to charge them for it.
Really?
Yeah, that's been some news recently about Newegg, and I'm just like, wow, okay. Not touching them with a 10-foot pole for a while. That's for damn sure.
You know if those were like listed as refurbished or new or what?
They were listed as refurbished, essentially. They were listed like actually not even that. They were like listed as box opened, never used. And then you get it, and it's literally been a broken piece of junk.
So it's like something that somebody returned, and then they never actually checked to see if it was any good.
Yeah, somebody bought it, returned it, told them it was broken. They never listed it as broken, and then tried to sell it as perfectly good, just pre-opened boxed. And so many people have reported that it's now become a thing and newsworthy on the internet. So it's like, nope. Good luck, boys. Which is a shame because my graphics card, actually no, my graphics card and my power source in my computer right now are actually bought off Amazon, but my previous graphics card before the last big upgrade was bought from Newegg, and it was really good. I've never had bad experiences with them, but apparently the bad experiences have been on the rise, so it's like, nope.
The worst experience I ever had with them was I bought the cheapest thing available, and it died pretty soon, which is always what happens when you buy the cheapest thing available.
Yeah.
So it's not like I could blame them for that either.
No, but yeah, the tales I've been hearing have been pretty numerous and very similar. So it's like, yeah, no thanks.
So that's definitely something to keep an eye out for then, yeah.
I'll hold off on them until they can correct that, whatever is going on.
Luckily, I shouldn't need to buy a computer anytime soon, but if I ever wanted to upgrade the graphics and play the PC version of Final Fantasy VII Remake, then I'm out of luck, at least from them.
I'm kind of not even holding my breath. I'll wait and see if they actually do finish Remake 7 before I'd even touch it with 10-foot pole anyway. I have a long discernible distrust now for things that aren't complete.
Mm.
Especially also since Square can be really hit or miss with some of their PC ports.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first the current version of the PC port on Epic I've heard was not great. But people are speculating that they're basically taking the time to see like what they screwed up before bringing it to Steam. I don't know how common that is, or if that's just talking out their
That's
asses or what.
well, to be fair, when they have direct to Steam releases, they do very frequently take a lot of feedback and then try and fix it. It may take them a couple of months, depending upon how complete the game is, and since this isn't a really complete game, they can take their time, I guess. And since it's also not released on Steam, they can take their time.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not unusual for people who release on Epic first to sit there and just let flounder as a unfinished, slightly broken mess and then fix it before Steam release.
Gotcha.
That is not news to me, so it is very likely
So
is
that's
what
probably where that
Square's doing.
speculation comes from. Yeah.
They're using Epic as a test area, and then as soon as they get the next thing up and running and fix it, then they'll use it as a test area again before releasing.
Gotcha.
Mm.
How about you, Alex? How's your week been?
Not too bad. Like, I have started my time off, which I feel like I brought it up before, but essentially I've taken the entire month of March off. Because I just had that much time off accrued and that I hadn't used.
Forgot how
and
much.
to be
I
fair,
forgot how much time it was, but
yeah,
you
like
had taken some time off.
I mean, technically, I think when I did the math, I'm only really missing like 18 days out of the month because I only work 4-day weeks.
Gotcha.
And even then, only like 4-hour shifts. So it wasn't like a big deal that I was taking the whole month off. And it was like, it was only going to be like 2 weeks. And then the start of this year happened and it was very, it was like, I was just very stressed out and some shit happened. And I was just
forget
like,
how to do your job by the time you go back.
I felt that way when I got back a little bit, actually. After I was gone for only like 3 weeks.
But yeah, I mean, my main problem is going to be trying to do like physical activity that I won't be getting from work because like that would be like 16 hours of exercise a week because I'm on my feet all the time, either cleaning tables or just walking around the whole shopping center or whatever.
Oh, and it's what is it, late summer there?
Yeah. So at the moment I'm basically just sitting around and fuck all sweating my
but you bought
balls
a
off.
rowing machine.
Yeah. So I'll probably be using that when we finish before I take a shower because like bloody hell. It is fucking annoying how hot it is here right now.
I do not miss extreme summers with lacking air. Because there's been a couple of those when I was in Madison, and it's just like, oh god. And yeah, you're showering like at least once a day, almost every day.
Like it's like if a breeze was coming through the right way, it might not be as bad, but like bloody hell, it's bloody insane. Like
Over here, things have actually been making a turn to the nice. We've been hitting like 40 degrees for the last couple of days.
It was 60 out today.
It's been so nice out here lately. I've actually been taking out the garbage without any jacket on, and it's just like, yes, some fresh air. And yeet the garbage into the bin.
It's one of those things of like, I would almost be tempted to temporarily stop trying to save for a PC and instead just save up to get some aircon, so I could actually have some in this lounge space instead of just in the bedroom. But I'm almost at that, but then I'm like, the PC is going to take longer to save up for.
But it's probably a longer
And-
save than for an air conditioner.
I think I technically started trying to save my pennies actively for a computer around. Oh gosh, it had to have been October, November. It's when I've actively started putting my foot down when we need to really save money, and I've had to put my foot down again, like the last couple of weeks, and go no meals over $5, with very few exceptions. Like today, when I was literally burning out after work, and what was it? Yeah, a day or two ago, when I bought $10 worth of food at work, but it's enough food that I can eat it for a couple of meals at home. So.
Yeah, like
So technically, it's 2 meals for the price of 1.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I'd started getting into the habit of like, okay, I'll buy something to eat before I start work, and I'll just stop buying something to eat after work to eat when I get home, and I'll just like make do with whatever's at home.
For me, it depends
like,
on what hour I'm going to and from work. If I'm going to work like just a little bit before lunch, I'll eat lunch there. If I'm getting off of work instead, right around dinner time, I'll grab something to eat at home.
Like, yeah, it's also a matter of just like, I've been trying to save for like the past couple of months, and just like every time something has come up or something's just happened where it's like, oh shit, there goes all my money.
That was me like early February. That's why I put my foot down again.
Yeah, like it's a thing of like, I know I used to be subscribed to a hell of a lot more people on Twitch, and I'm just realizing, even though I was trying to do like the 6-month one, so it would take longer between the payments having to go out, I was just like, yeah, no, I'm
There's
just gonna
too
let
many
a
of them.
lot of these. Yeah, I was just gonna let canceled a bunch of them, and just gonna let a lot of them lapse. And when I've got the money to again, I'll
Yeah, you can always come back when the
do
money's
that.
more
But
plentiful,
yeah,
and that's what honestly a lot of the good ones out there. Like thank you, Lalathon. I've seen lots of your VODs. That's what a lot of them will say to you, is that you don't need to bend your back trying to pay them. They usually make enough.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Plus, I've seen some people just being like, instead of a recurring, just like throw a bunch of gift subs at me, because that usually helps a bit more.
Well, if you want to compare against somebody who has it worse, everybody who works 4 hours a week, 4 days a week in the United States, you're like, what? You're allowed to get time off?
Yeah, they consider, like, even when I was only working 1 day a week at this place, they always considered me permanent part-time for some reason. Which meant less money than if I was casual, but it also meant that I was very, very slowly accruing leave. Although it was a point that back then, if I wanted time off while I was still working like 1 or 2 days a week, I basically had to ask for like unpaid leave, because I just would not have enough leave accrued to justify taking paid. And then finally, like, basically, I ended up in a good position with COVID, where I ended up actually getting more hours, because that's actually the year that I started working 4 hours a week, 4 days a week, should say. So I was finally accruing leave a lot quicker, and I realized I had like 90 something hours accrued. So I was like, well, shit, that should probably cover the month or whatever. So fuck it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much actual air quotes leave time I've accrued, but I do know you can at least ask for time off for situations like what I've got coming up in a couple months. Don't know if I've mentioned it to this group or not. Like 4 family members have died since November.
Oh.
Yeah. 2 uncles, an uncle-in-law, and a cousin-in-law.
Damn.
The last 3 were actually within the last month, so yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So I mentioned at work, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll print off a thing for you here quick, and we'll make sure you can take that home and figure out how to use the app to get time off."
Hmm.
Because at least 2 of the funerals are going to be within a
Mhm.
weekend of each other.
Ah.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
On that depressing note, today's show,
Me too.
we've got birthdays and news. I got a few pieces this week. We've got a couple bits of geek talk, our episode summary, and then our episode review, final thoughts, and ratings.
Mm-hmm.
And because we experimented last week with me just talking for the first half of the podcast straight, Alex is going to take Rand's place today.
Okay.
Yep. So starting with the birthdays then, on the 23rd of February, we had Jerry Davis, who was a story editor from...
Oh, that should say 66, not 96.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is he a time traveler?
Brilliant. Yeah.
Maybe.
So Jerry Davis
He
was a story editor
knows.
from 1966 to 1967, was the co-creator of the Cybermen. Jerry would have been 92, but died in 1991 at the age of 61.
By the way, I'd like to add that I'm pretty sure it was this guy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same photo I have up right now of him. I remember like a couple of years ago, that thing was barely the size of a thumbnail. And now it's like, oh, it's actually a couple hundred pixels now.
Better
Or
version
long,
of
maybe
the
we'll
photo
actually have a
appeared.
full-fledged picture of him at some point. We'll see.
Yeah. And so moving on from that, on the 24th, we have David Goodison, who played Davros in 1979. He turned 81.
That's Genesis of the Daleks, if anyone is trying to do the math.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not Genesis. Destiny of the Daleks.
Destiny, yeah.
Yeah.
On the 27th, we have Derek Ware, character actor and fight coordinator from 63 to 72. Would have been 84, but died in 2015 at the age of 77.
Okay, fight coordinator makes sense. I was seeing something when I was looking for his images that said he was a stuntman. So fight coordination would still be considered partially stunts.
He's a stunt actor, character actor, choreographer, and fight coordinator, depending on which episode you look at.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
He just wears a lot of hats.
Yeah, just a lot of action hats, just to make sure people are safe.
And on the final day of February, on the 28th, we have Katie Wicks, who played Rhiannon Davies from all 5 episodes of Children of Earth in 2009, who turned 42. Murray Gold, the composer from 2005 to 2014, turned 53. And Mervyn Pinfield, associate producer and episode director from 63 to 65, would have been 110, but died in 1966 at the age of 54. And finally, on the 1st of March, we have Roger Delgado, the original master from 71 to 73, would have been 104, but died in 73 at the age of 55. So
too soon.
Yeah.
So
happy birthday to Jerry, David, Derek, Katie, Murray, Mervyn, and Roger. And unfortunately, we do have a lost story. Writer Henry Lincoln, the last surviving writer from Doctor Who in the 1960s, has died at the age of 91. Along with his writing partner, Mervyn Haseman, Lincoln wrote The Abominable Snowman and The Web of Fear, creating the long-lasting characters of the Great Intelligence and Colonel Lethbridge Stewart. The two also wrote the original draft of The Dominators, though they asked their names to be removed after extensive changes were made to the script. Lincoln was born in London and attended the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. Before writing, he acted in television programs such as Our Mutual Friend, Spycatcher, Strange Concealments, The Avengers, The Barnstormers, The Saint, Z-Cars, and Man in a Suitcase. Later, he would write a series of documentaries for the BBC and the best-selling non-fiction book The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail, which inspired Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code.
I never had any idea that Doctor Who had so few degrees of separation from the Da Vinci Code.
Right?
Also,
is it just because everybody been in Z-Cars? Is Z-Cars still ongoing that we just don't know about it?
No.
Everybody who was acting in the 60s was in Z-Cars.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, there's a lot of overlap. Like, a lot of actors that you would see in anything in the 60s were probably in everything else at some point to varying degrees.
There were only like 2 channels in Britain in the 50s and 60s, I think.
I suppose.
Well,
technically, there's not much more than 4 channels now, so...
At the very least, definitely in the 80s, there were only still like 4, so there was a very limited acting pool.
Right.
It's why you see like so many actors in Classic Who compared to now showing up like a million different times as different people.
People like like Derek Ware.
Yeah.
Yes, rest in peace, Henry. And moving on from that, we have some cast and crew news. The Critics' Choice Association, the largest critics organization in the US and Canada, has nominated Jodie Whittaker for a Critics' Choice Award for Best Actress for her work on Doctor Who. Also nominated in 2022 for Best Actress in a Science Fiction Fantasy Series, Mackenzie Davis from Station 11, Laura Donnelly for The Nevers, Sonequa Martin Green for Star Trek's Discovery, Teresa Palmer for A Discovery of Witches, and Alison Wright for Snowpiercer. The winner will be announced on Sunday, March 13th.
The only thing I saw on that list is Doctor Who. Shrug.
I mean, some of those I'm aware of, just never.
I'm aware of at least a couple of them,
watching.
but as for actually being able to see them, yeah. I'm speaking of which, I still have a backlog of stuff to watch that I just recently bought, and it's just like they sat there for a month already. It's like I need to really get at that. Then again, it might behoove you me to wait till October because they're both Halloween and Ghostbusters.
Anyway, moving down to audio. Demon Records have announced a 10th Doctor audio adventure to be released on vinyl only for a Record Store Day event on April 23rd. Dead Air is written by James Goss and narrated by David Tennant.
Oh, good, I'm back.
Hello.
It's written by James Goss, so it might as well be this week's Big Finish news.
Just about.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I see Dead Air and audio, and my mind immediately went to Radio Dead Air.
Mine did too initially. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, no, never mind. Okay.
To be honest, it's branching out to Doctor Who.
I believe he's a Who fan, but it's been a long time since I've paid attention to them.
I think when I first started paying attention to him, he was doing Doctor Who reviews, but not for long.
I know he did one of the Peter Cushing movies.
Peter Cushing movies are good, but they're also very silly.
Of course, it might be because that certain website required people to do movie reviews to stay on it or something.
I forget what the rules were for that, but yeah. Honestly, I just don't pay attention to anyone that was a part of it anymore that often.
Yeah, I like to start my Sundays by hearing about the nonsense of the week. So
Gotcha. Plenty of it. But
right.
yeah, but
So that's
I think I've heard about Dead Air before, and I'd be almost interested in picking that up if it's available online somewhere.
oh, is it a story that already existed?
I'm pretty sure I at least seen the art for it before.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd have to open up another tab.
I didn't see that part in the article. It does say originally released in 2010.
Ah.
Yep. Dead Air, audio
Right.
story, TARDIS. Let's see here. Does it say who originally released it? A publisher originally BBC Audio, so it was actually
Oh,
a direct
okay.
BBC creation.
Gotcha.
So they're probably allowing someone to buy up the license to re-release it right now as a
I
special
think
event.
I think BBC Audio might have been sold to Big Finish.
So it might be technically a Big Fish thing anyways.
Right, at this point.
It's just that they're tendentially attached to someone else to maybe make the physical copies or
Because
something.
I thought BBC Audio is what became Audio Go, which was part of Big Finish. But unless I'm mixing things up, because
It can get confusing sometimes to keep all that stuff
right.
straight.
All right, so that's the end of the news, which brings us on to Geek
Mhm.
Talk. So to start with the big one, Peacemaker has been the big thing on HBO Max. Peacemaker is a spin-off of James Gunn's Suicide Squad and focuses on the character Peacemaker from that, as well as a few other characters who were basically rejects assigned to duty by Amanda Waller. So if you remember when Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out, I had the opinion that I did not dislike it. I enjoyed it, but I felt that it was skewing too far into the goofiness territory and hard to take seriously as being part of the same universe as the MCU. And that's kind of what I feel like about Peacemaker. I feel like at various times, half the cast are trying to be Deadpool. And it's just, in general, it kind of feels like it's veering too far into that silly, hard to believe territory. Especially, I think, in the beginning. I don't think I felt that way so much toward the latter half, although I might have just been used to it by the last half.
Very possible.
Because basically, Peacemaker and more or less his sidekick. There's his and then he's working with 4 people from Amanda Waller's team. I think at least one of them I recognized from the Suicide Squad. I'm not sure if Hardcore appeared in the Suicide Squad or not.
Not that I recall.
Okay.
Mm.
But what else to say about it? So it's it's what, 8 episodes long, and it's basically Peacemaker's journey. Like it shows partially like his arc of like why he's such an asshole. But it also it's really his arc of basically he's deciding to be less of an asshole. So he's basically going from being pretty much a supervillain who thinks of himself as a superhero to at least being more in that like anti-hero range.
Gotcha. So basically, it's further evolving the character, so you understand why he is wound up the way he is.
Right. So it's kind of like if like tonally wise and like in terms of like moral gray area wise, it's like if they did a Harley Quinn live action show, except people give a shit about Harley Quinn, so probably it would be pretty strict on what you could do. Whereas nobody gave a shit about Peacemaker, so James Gunn could do whatever the fuck he felt like doing. It's it's the same sort of irreverent humor you would expect from a Suicide Squad spinoff. I was iffy about it for the first few episodes because I felt like everybody was trying to be Deadpool. But once it settled in for a couple episodes, and either it wasn't as extreme or I got used to it, I started to like it a lot more. It's still goofy, like it's still on the comedy side. I don't want to make it's not like a Zack Snyder movie or anything. It's definitely a James Gunn thing, but I don't think it's as bad toward. It didn't feel annoyingly goofy at the end. By the end,
Okay.
definitely a lot of people like it, and if you're a fan of the newer Suicide Squad movie, the James Gunn one, then probably give Peacemaker a chance.
I will say I did enjoy that Suicide Squad. I haven't seen the first one yet, but I saw that second one, and it's just like, this is hilarious. I need to see that again sometime. Because apparently there's just a lot of background stuff going on too, so you have to keep your eyes peeled.
Like essentially, the first one was Warner Brothers trying to make David Ayer make a James Gunn movie in reshoots,
Pretty much, yeah.
And then they decided, well, let's just cut out the middleman and actually bring in James Gunn.
Well, just so happened that James Gunn was available for a while, so yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we can thank we can thank the people who went on that smear campaign and dug up all of his old tweets for that movie and this show, basically.
Things happen as they are meant to.
Yep. Of course, that also cost us Adam Warlock. So.
I don't think it cost us it yet.
Some.
He's at best on hold.
Well, he didn't fight against Thanos, and Thanos is dead.
But do you think the MCU holds strict rules as to keeping normal continuity? Because that broke a long time ago.
I mean, with all the multiverse stuff they're bringing in now.
Yeah, the rules are about to bend even harder.
If they turn around, they're like, oh yeah, we brought Thanos from the present, we brought Thanos from the past. Now we're bringing in Thanos from another dimension.
We're bringing in comic book Thanos, who's trying to impress Lady Death, who's still not impressed.
You know what? I could see James Gunn pulling that off for that.
He could, yeah.
James Gunn is like, I have one condition for returning to Marvel: Thanos who wants to fuck Death.
And Deadpool gets to have her as a girlfriend. Fuck you all.
All right. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Alabama Jackson. So it's a series of shorts on Adult Swim's YouTube channel.
Gotcha.
So I became aware of it because I follow a podcast co-hosted by Donald Faison, which is about Scrubs. And he's the one who came up with the idea for the show.
Okay.
So what it basically is imagine that Harriet Tubman is the doctor and Turk from Scrubs is the companion. But it's not inspired by Doctor Who. It's inspired by Indiana Jones. So Harriet Tubman is like cursing people out and getting into sword fights. And the master figure is Woodrow Wilson, who, if you don't know, is the U.S. president who basically brought the KKK back from the brink of extinction and made it into what it was throughout the 20th century. And so it's basically it's a little bit of, they're shorts, so there's not much space to them, but it's a little bit of like history stuff. Like they just show up in the middle of historical events that either Woodrow Wilson is trying to stop from happening or that they just coincidentally go into. Like there's one episode where just literally Harriet Tubman accidentally ate some edibles at Woodstock, so they're going to get her. So Alabama's getting some pancakes, and it happens to be in the middle of a civil rights event. So it's that, the action of Indiana Jones, and some of the people, including Seth Green from Robot Chicken, are behind it. So you've got.
I saw some Robot Chicken attachments there, so it's like, okay, yeah, this is sideways.
Yeah, so there's definitely that Robot Chicken sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be quite as crass as some Robot Chicken gets, but you definitely see the Robot Chicken influence in the comedy and everything.
Gotcha.
So, I think most people would enjoy it. I figure it's a time traveling action comedy, so most people who are interested in Doctor Who probably would enjoy it. It's probably not rated G, but
Oh, I
Then
guarantee you
again,
it
a lot
probably
of
isn't. It's Robot Chicken. Robot
neither.
Chicken can almost stretch to
Right,
R
right.
some days.
Exactly. Yeah. Um. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. There's not much to say about it,
Alrighty.
and that is the end of Geek Talk.
I would like to add that I was half tempted to put in a Geek Talk myself, but I'm holding back because I want to at least finish the achievements because there's no real end to the game
Ah,
that I'm
Ah,
looking
yeah.
at right now. But I'm having
Animal
a lot of fun with
Crossing.
it so far. Oh, no. It's called, what was it? Vampire Survivors? Survivors? Let me get my
I've
Steam
not
up
heard
again.
of it.
It's a little indie game. Literally, like, one or two guys worked on it. And it released, I want to say, almost half a month to a month ago.
Okay.
The original, like, beta test version is still available on itch.io and for free. And you can
Hmm.
actually, if you want to test it out there first as a beta, you can actually keep your save information and bring it over to when you buy the official version of the game with more stuff added to it. And it's technically early release because they're still releasing maps, they're still making more characters, more sub weapons, and I believe there's a couple other things they're working on too. And almost every time they do an update, they have another achievement or two added. Vampire Survivors, yeah. The best way to describe it is a top-down wave survival game. Kind of like those top-down shooters. You'd like have like the one
Okay.
guy in the middle of the screen wandering around, dealing with hordes of whatever.
Gotcha.
It's like that, but it has a few different tweaks about it. But I'll talk about it later when I get enough when I
Okay.
finish the achievements because I'm very close to getting done with that, or at least catching up. Yeah, I got 8 more achievements left to get.
Cool. So review on that next week.
If I
Maybe.
can get it finished. Yep.
If you don't work like 8 days between now and then.
Right. Better not be working 8 days. This 7-day run in a row is already killing me. At least I have Thursday off. Thank God. Thursday, 2 days, back to work. Another day off. Another day in work. Another day off. Another 2 days. Another day off. I'm getting a spattering of little days off here and there now.
So that brings us to Matt with the summary.
But yep, summary. So reset, and anyone else got a stopwatch ready?
Should have. Give me just a sec. Ready for countdown?
Okay, just a second. I don't know why. I don't know when it suddenly stopped paying attention.
What happened?
The web browser for whatever reason, yeah, locked up. I see the stopwatch now. Okay. For whatever reason, it's for the web browser froze on the Dead Tenant Dead Air story.
Oh, I see.
Anyway, ready?
All right. Yep. So, 3, 2, 1, start.
All right, so the story basically starts off with Torchwood being called in for a car crash, and normally not one of their normal things to investigate, except that the truck is laden with a strange kind of meat that seems to be a bit on the gamey side, and as they continue to research it, they find out that they can't actually place it as a normal meat on Earth, at least not for any normal animals here. It apparently can be laced with almost anything and would blend in with, say, beef, which is a big meat product. As they continue to investigate it, they realize that Reese, Gwen's fiance, actually had the guy there hired as a part of his transport company, and he's starting to ask questions himself and starts to get involved. He shows up at the plant where apparently the meat was picked up, even though it's supposed to be abandoned, and finds out that there is a giant whale-like worm inside of there that's from outer space, and they've been cutting it up, and apparently despite them cutting it up, it keeps growing. But that's where all the strange alien edible meat is coming from. So he manages to get out of there in one piece, but then is very quickly confronted by Gwen, who's wondering what the heck he's doing and why he lied to her. But then he starts questioning her because he did see her at the vehicle crash and starting to collect evidence and trying to ask questions about what happened and why they were dragged in. So, long story short, Gwen has to show Reese what she's really been doing because she's been saying that she's been an anti-terrorist group or something like that. And turns out that she is obviously with Torchwood, fighting aliens, stopping other weird menaces, supernatural menaces from space and beyond. And that now he's basically a part of this, at least for this particular incident. He agrees to be the new delivery guy for the next load of meat that these guys are going to try and make some money off of. Shows up, drops off the Torchwood agents, who then proceed to sneak off before he even realizes they're gone. And as he's about to take off is when one of the guys is spotted tasing one of the meat packers. He's taken into custody, taken captive rather, and they also managed to catch Yanta before the rest of them are confronted by the meat packers. They are trying to set the creature free, and it is slowly waking up and is no longer being drugged and is becoming a menace. And actually impeding some of the Torchwood company behind its massive size, and they're not able to do anything about it. Owen has to come in and unwittingly has to very quickly stab the creature with a giant syringe full of, I assume, poison of some kind in order to just make it stop. Even though that was not originally planned, there's not enough sedatives to make the creature calm down again. The men that were doing all this stuff were tased and had their memories erased, so they no longer are aware of what they were doing. That was allowing them to make all this money that they were now apparently sitting on. But at the same time, they are no longer able to commit the crime they were doing, and the body of the creature was basically set on fire and burnt to cinders. At the end of the story, Gwen is faced with the choice of having to drug her fiancé again to make him forget, and she finally decides that he's been such a big help, despite even taking a bullet for her, despite everything that's been going on, and she's no longer willing to drug him and make him forget everything that happened. And while Jack seems a bit upset about this, he also seems to be questioning his decision to possibly have him drugged either. So this is left as a cliffhanger as to whether or not he will actually have his memories erased as things continue to shut down for the evening at Torchwood. And that's the end of our story.
4 minutes and just under 16 seconds on my end.
Yeah, about the same here. And I had a slight jump on you on stopping it.
Because you knew how your sentence was going to end. You're like,
Yeah.
and that's the end of our story. And then my thumb started moving. All right. Yes, so that is meat. And so we start with what Matt liked about the episode. Same order as last week, actually.
Same order as last week, okay.
I promise I flipped a virtual coin, but it's same order.
The virtual coin says, denied. We return to the same lineup. General thing I liked about this overall. Reese. Reese has been usually a cool guy in most of these stories, and it's nice to see they're actually having some hard decisions about him, because he is obviously a useful guy when it comes down to the bottom line. Especially for this particular incident. Oh, by the way, we also got cool in the chat, and I'm not sure when that was said, but hi, Cax.
Oh. Yes, hi in the chat. But yeah, it's I feel like Reese's position was getting to the point where it was less and less realistic to keep the status quo as it was. So yeah, I think it was a good decision to get him involved.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on that? Okay.
That in general is fine. Nice to let him finally stand on his own legs and get more involved.
Right. Okay. Alex?
Honestly, I guess in a broad sense, I just like that the main focus of this was Reese and Gwen, because for one thing, it prevented Owen's bullshit from permeating the episode. Like Owen's there, but
which
he's
it was sprinkled
not really...
in, but it didn't overwhelm it.
Yeah. Like, he's there and he's being snarky, but he's not really being like the colossal asshat that he usually is.
I guess that depends on whether he's intentionally ignoring Tasha's signs and not responding to them, or if they're literally going over his head.
I honestly think that it's going over his head. He's not used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, like, especially given like a lot of the shit that's happened prior to this, it's just nice to have a thing that focuses on them. And like, Reese could easily come off as an asshole with how he's like shouting at Gwen in some of the scenes, but it's like, you get where he's coming from, and it's not like he's smacking her around or anything, which, I mean, it's Gwen, so if he was, you would immediately think that she'd be smacking him right back, but still.
And also, to be fair, he gave the exact same kind of tongue right back to Jack, and Jack just kind of like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not usually a fan of screaming at your fiance, but I do think that in this case it's probably warranted.
Yeah, there's been a lot of shade going down.
Yeah, like, he's not...
And he doesn't even know 90% of it.
Anymore, yeah.
Because she drugged him about it too every time she mentioned it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, like, it's one of those... and like, yeah, like, every time he's yelling at her, he's not, like, getting up in her face, that he's, like, keeping his distance. He's not looking like he's ever going to get physical. Which, if that had happened, it'd be like, well, you've immediately made me stop caring about Reese. But
right.
You know,
Reese is merely an asshole. But no, yeah, they keep away from that, thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully, especially given this is Torchwood. And they very easily could have gone that way, and thankfully they did not.
That's it for yours?
Yeah.
Okay, so on my end, I'm going to say I think this was one example of just an episode where Torchwood handles some adult concepts, and it's not, quote, adult, unquote, but actually adult. Like, they're not going for, like, super edgelord, but they're, like, you know, actually telling your spouse about shit that, like, you're not, you know, that is difficult to tell them, and, you know, putting down a creature that's been tortured for months or even longer.
Yeah.
And, you know, actually dealing with that shit rather than, you know, rape aliens and all the other Torchwoody shit.
Right.
Yeah. Like, it's one of those things where Torchwood at its best is stuff like this, and not the fucking edgelord bullshit of, hey, I guess to make this adult we have to do all of this stuff. It's like, no, you don't. But
right. I mean, they do have more guns than you would typically expect in the English countryside, but I don't think they go over the top with that, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
not
they
like
very rarely.
It's not like they're going at it with American rifles or something. It's literally at best a couple of pistols.
Yeah. And even then, they also have like those little stun gun things on them as well.
For our good guys, yeah, and when they need to just take people down and not kill them.
That's true. Yeah, it wasn't like fucking Yanto was like painting the walls with brains and blood of everybody. He was just tase.
Yeah.
All right. What does Matt dislike about the episode?
What I dislike about the episode, I kind of wish the creature effect was a little bit better. The meat effects were pretty close to on par, but the creature effects, like certain angles, you could feel how fakey it kind of was at times.
I should have known. I should have known when I was looking at the CGI, getting annoyed that the person who always notices the visuals before me.
I am a visual freaking person. I cannot.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to ignore. I mean,
Mm.
almost what kind of bugs me about that.
Alex cut out.
Alex cut out. Hello, Alex. I'm glad it wasn't just me.
Right. Well, we'll see if they come back. But on the effect, watch it. What? Oh, there we go.
Hello.
I knew as
I
soon
don't,
as
I don't know. I don't know what happened.
I knew as soon as I started talking and assuming that it was going to be a second for you to come back, that was when you were going to come back. I literally had like a half a word out of my mouth went from me giving up.
Yeah, like I don't know what the hell happened there, but like all I did was like go into the settings, pick the things again, even though it seemed to say that I was still using this mic, and then it
turn it
sort
back
of
on again?
immediately fixed
That's-
itself. Yeah,
That's
Gotcha.
weird. Well, then again, welcome to Discord.
yeah. Yeah, like when they're like right up close to it with like the eye that opens, like I was thinking, well, the texture is so basic. Why wasn't at least that practical?
Right.
Because I get that, like I get that the shit. I mean, to get something that big to actually look like that much of a blobby thing that's just kind of constantly moving, it's probably not going to be feasibly possible on Torchwood's budget.
I was
but
gonna say, like
at least the up close stuff.
I was thinking it would have looked so good as an animatronic, and I get that a life-size animatronic would not have worked on Torchwood's budget.
Yeah.
They could maybe have done a miniature and like green screened race in there.
Yeah.
But
that could have been a little more plausible, yeah.
I felt like it wasn't as bad watching it on my TV. I don't know if it's because I was watching it from farther away or because the TV has naturally darker settings. But when I looked at it on my monitor, because I was making the opening bump and everything, I was like, wow, the CGI is really bad and obvious on the monitor.
Yeah, it must have been something to do when you were originally watching it, because I'm watching it on my computer monitor up close, and it's like, oof.
Yeah.
Some shots were okay, and then other shots are just really yikes. That's PlayStation 2.
Right. Yeah, actually, that was literally my thought when I looked at one of like the aerial shots where you see like the top of it, and it's like that looks like a PlayStation 2 texture. Early PlayStation 2, probably.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like, if it was like, I mean, I get that realistically having it be darkly lit wouldn't make much sense because they're trying to, like, with the whole business they've got going and all that, but I feel like in different lighting this would probably look a lot better. Or even if there was just like a top over it.
Actually, yeah, that would have been the easiest way to do it, is for even on set, would just have this be massive thing that can wiggle a little bit, but it's just tarps.
Right.
Yeah, like a top over it.
It would be very budgetary,
like
but it'd be really good budgetary.
That wouldn't fix the scene where like it's thrashing around and you see its mouth open and everything, but
that would not help the later on scenes, but it at least would help with that. And actually, the later on scenes, you could like have those tethers snap some lights, and you can actually darken the room and make it a little more effective when it goes CG. My thought process.
Or even at the very least, you'd only have to worry about CGing the stuff that's not under the top. So
right.
So you could put more effort into the stuff that is showing.
But anywho.
Okay, Alex, what did you think? Or what did you dislike, I should say?
I mean, normally I default to Owen, but he does jack all in this, so
he actually saves Reese from a bullet wound, in fact.
You know, I guess I'll just say like the bad guys running the operation, because as much as like it's cool that Reese kind of tricks them into being like, oh no, I'm just looking to take over from that. if this was realistic at all, they would have just shot him. They would have dragged him in there and just
most
shot him
likely.
without asking questions.
Well, so I definitely get why you say that. The way I was kind of looking at it is that there's a very good chance, like they mentioned earlier, like these aren't organized criminals. They have guns, but there's a very good chance that they've never actually shot anybody before. Like a lot of muggers, like they'll be like, "Oh, I'll shoot you if you move," but they say that so that they don't have to. So like if you actually disobey them, there's a chance that they freeze or that they just shoot wildly because they've never actually been forced to decide whether or not to shoot somebody. So
True,
that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was watching that.
Yeah, fair enough. But it was one of those funny things, just of like, it's a bit weird that they'd be like going along with this and not like, at the very least, not like it turns out that they tailed him home or something to figure out where he lives or something like that.
Again, I don't think these guys are experienced enough.
Right.
Well, I don't really think you need experience to go, maybe we should follow him just in case.
They believed him.
These guys are the equivalent of the muggers from Epic NPC Man. He's got gold, right? Right. Then let's smug him. But it could kill us in an instant. Right, but it's got gold.
I guess that is a funny thing, is like they kind of have to be kind of incompetent, otherwise it'd be like the complaint we had about an earlier story where they seemed like way too organized to the point that it made Torchwood look silly.
It looks really dumb, yeah. Yeah, the rage guys, yeah.
Yeah, the Fight Club guys. Or it's just like they were a bit too competent for
a bunch of idiots
for their own good. Yeah. So it was just whereas this, it's like
these are guys trying to look competent, but they really aren't.
Speaking of incompetent, I think that's a good segue to the point that I'll choose as my backup option, and that is that the setup for this kind of requires Reese's whole operation to be a bit poorly run. Because you would think at least like whoever handled, I don't know if it's just Reese and his assistant or what, but somebody should have like a billing address and a phone number for these people who are allegedly renting out his trucks.
Well,
or
apparently it is mostly him and his
paying
assistant.
His delivery people, or so.
And this was something that was set up with his delivery guy, directly telling them the information, and then didn't give them all the information. Just start doing it anyways.
Yeah.
It's like, oof. Yeah, it does look shady, but it also can't blame Reese too much. He doesn't see everything.
Like, if it's halfway competently run as a business, the person who handles the money will have, will have asked for a phone number and everything to get things on the books so that they can, handle the money. Like, it's like, I don't know if they were just paying in cash and the driver was just like pocketing most of it and giving Reese a share, and Reese was like, oh, well, whatever. But
yeah, I think for some,
like
I'm not sure how, but somehow it seemed like it was like Reese was on the outside, suddenly just looking in and just went, wait, what the hell's been going on?
Yeah, like, at the very least, you'd think that they'd have just given like a fake address,
right?
Or like
a PO box, or the whatever the Welsh equivalent of a PO box is.
Yeah, because then Torchwood could have just easily looked it up and gone, well, that's not an actual address, or that's just a PO box, or like that is an address, but this is a completely different thing. I guess like it's one of those funny things of like, I guess that's another problem, is just that there's a lot of things that happen just so the plot can progress. So like, well, we need Reese to know about this. So clearly he's got to have been incompetent at his job and not gotten all the info somehow. So he can think, oh shit, now I look shady.
Yeah, he looks, I think it was, I'm not sure how they exactly explained it, but it sounded like the truck dude was the guy who was actually managing that particular job.
Yeah.
And somehow he was able to let that information in, but not give the full information yet, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And yeah, that
So-
pissed off Reese when he found out there's not enough information there.
Mm.
Because it does reflect poorly on him if he doesn't know what's going on either.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, he may not be dishonest, but he's doing something wrong. All right, Matt, what was your favorite scene?
Favorite scene? A couple of really good ones in there, actually. You know what? I'm gonna say Gwen and Reese taking the elevator ride. Oh, that looks so realistic. That's because it is, honey.
Like, no, Gwen, they're extinct.
Mm.
Then the quick explanation that there's a time rift.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, I think anyone's first time going into Torchwood HQ is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Okay, Alex?
You know, I wasn't necessarily sure I was gonna go with it or not, but screw it. I'm gonna go with Yanto just like fucking tasing those two guys. Just like
not even just tasing them. The fact that he literally starts to kung fu for a moment and kick their asses before tasing each of them.
Mm.
Just a generally good moment for Yanto to stretch his legs.
Right, Yanto definitely had a bit of a badass moment in here. I mean, after being held at gunpoint, but still.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's what adds to it is like, these are the two assholes that almost killed him, so he's just like, well, I'm going to kick your ass. And I guess it's also good because, like, I feel like I probably wouldn't feel the same way, even though it'd be fitting for Torchwood, if he had just shot them with a gun and killed them. So instead, just stunning them to be like, fuck you, more than anything. It's just like, yeah. It's a really fun moment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for me, I'm going to go with Reese basically having his like prove yourself worthy moment where he basically was like, okay, you know, I'm here. I can either tell them the truth and hope they don't kill me, or I can tell them the truth and try to run away, or I can lie to them and try to figure out what's going on and become part of their operation and use that information to figure out what the hell's what, you know, how to deal with it, and he does that.
Yeah, he very quickly became trial by fire real fast.
Right? Like, I feel like he's the one person in Torchwood who the Doctor would consider as a companion.
Yeah. Especially see even like at the end when he's on the phone with that, because that was kind of the funny thing, was watching this so soon after the Sarah Jane Adventures episode where they had to mind wipe Gita because she was like, "Oh, I'm going to go to we're going to be famous."
That's that
and all
next
this.
thing, yeah.
Whereas
she was going to constantly
like deflecting.
Yeah, she was already going to be like blabbering to everybody she could, whereas Reese immediately, as soon as he's getting called by a mate, is like, "Oh, nothing new."
Yeah.
That was actually one of the quick notes I took on that one too. It's just like, "Oh yeah, look at you."
It's like, because I don't even think they have that conversation with him, but he knows no one's going to believe him, so he just doesn't say anything.
He's already a smart enough guy to know that blabbering is just not the way to go about it.
All right, Matt, least favorite scene?
Least favorite scene. The space whale getting upset and thrashing about as chords that apparently aren't really there launch and quick fakey dodging them, as well as trying to dodge back from this thing that's taking up most of the room but obviously isn't there.
Yeah.
Because we can't even have the people and the monster in the same shot, even though that should have been easy for CG.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Oh well.
Right? Alec.
On a similar note, Owen killing it because it's so like I almost wish they'd just shown him like stabbing something off camera and injecting, because like having him actually go up to the CG thing and seemingly stick it somewhere in it and plunge down is just like, again, this is a thing where like up close shots being like practical, so it's something they can control and you can actually see the thing legitimately jabbing into something, would be much better, because especially with like the texture of it, it's very generic, so you could very easily just throw something together on the small budget
you could
they
get
have.
some that padding they use at the bottom of a gym floor for exercising, and then you just like put like some put a brown tarp over it, or like spray paint it brown even.
Yeah, like there would have been a way to do it where at least the section that he's jabbing into is seen on camera.
You
like,
could easily make a
and
small section
physically
of
there.
wall of foam, scrape it up to make it look like a similar texture, then paint it, and then that would have been
Right,
a much
there
more
you go.
effective just close up.
Yep.
Just
Yeah.
bingo, done.
Yeah.
Just do a close up, don't show any of the edges, and you've made it.
Yeah, especially since I feel like in the one where he seems to stab it in like the face sort of area,
and then steps back.
I could be wrong, but it kind of feels like the CG thing is still moving as he's trying to hit it in one spot. So it's probably like still moving as he's got the the plunger thing in it. So it's like, yeah, this ain't working. I mean, they clearly must have had something. I would hope they had something that was just going to be replaced that he was actually jabbing that into, at least, because it seemed like either that or the actor was just very good at the physicality of that, of making it look like he was jabbing into something and then having to yank it back out.
Yeah, the problem was not his physicality. The problem was the fact that the thing that he was stabbing into didn't match.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't even think the lighting on it matched to begin with.
Probably not, no. Because again, this is like
Really
essentially they're
chintzy
doing it on a
CG.
budget, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one of those annoying things of like Doctor Who related stuff.
Once in a while, they actually do
getting
properly
a
throw
bit
the
too
budget, and then they can get
adventurous.
the visual effects right. And then there's moments like this where it's like, ew.
All right, so for mine, I'm going to say, for whatever reason, they need to do that. Just like they did with Amy and the Doctor, they need to keep doing that whole like will Gwen and Jack fuck thing, and so they have that scene where Jack is like restraining Gwen, but he goes out of the way to like do like this whole body hold, like he was, to make it look like he's going to do something more, and he's like. Yeah, they go over the top with that, and it's every time Jack needs to touch Gwen for a scene, they do the same thing, and
like the thing with the like him just kind of being like, oh yes, may I take your hand, young lady, kind of thing. Like that's like that is one thing, because they're doing that. At least that serves a purpose, because it's so Reese can see that and be like, okay, are they banging? And then like, but everything else that he wouldn't see is just like, why are we doing this? Especially because this is supposed to be strengthening their relationship. Why do we have so many scenes where it looks like they probably are fucking?
Somebody in the cast, and for all I know, it was fucking Barrowman. I have no idea. Just really loved the idea that Gwen and Jack were going to fuck. And like it's nothing's ever said out loud, which just makes it weirder. But it's always like this weird awkward body language that just
Mm.
Like, I don't know. I guess there's no public. There's no like HR office for Gwen to complain to. I guess HR is Yanto,
Well,
and
yeah.
he's the junior person.
I think the problem as well is just they make it look like Gwen's into it.
Well, yeah.
So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
God damn it, Gwen. We're already trying to rehabilitate you from the Owen crap. Can you?
Right. I don't remember if Gwen ever tells Reese without drugging him about the Owen crap.
Not that I'm aware of, and she's already ashamed enough anyways, so I don't
think,
blame her.
yeah, like I don't think she ever does. I think she gets it out of her system, drugs him, and then just goes on about it. Especially because I feel like at this point that would split them up. Because she'd have to admit to, I already told you before, but I drugged you, so you didn't remember. And that would be like, if Reese stuck with her after that, I would be calling bullshit.
The man would be beyond a saint.
Fair point. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's Torchwood, so I could very clearly have seen them maybe planning to do that at some point if they ever wanted to write the actor off.
Mm-hmm.
Or if the actor ever wanted to leave, and they just have them break up.
Yeah, I could imagine they have that scene written just in case Kai Owen had another part or something, and they're like, okay, so now Reese and Gwen are gonna break up, and then Jack is gonna slip something into his drink.
Hmm.
And then he'll just wake up with multiple years of amnesia in some other town.
Right. So that was it for disliked scenes. So final thoughts.
Back to me again. Final thoughts.
Yep.
Spotty visuals, but the rest of the story definitely makes up for it. Very well written. Some of the usual issues that we do have with Torchwood are not nearly as present as they are in this particular episode. And there's a lot more interesting stuff going around, especially with our main couple here. As I believe this is actually their first footnotes into possibly getting set up for Reese to actually be a mainstay. And not just a background relationship character.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've got an episode. It wouldn't be in the months we're covering now, but by the when we get closer to finishing off the series 2 stuff, they have their wedding episode.
Yep. Yeah, I believe it was later this season. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Brings us to Alex.
Yep. Yeah, basically this is one of those ones where it's Torchwood being what it should be, like all the time, pretty much, where it's handling stuff that would probably be too adult or just too real for Doctor Who to handle. And like, again, like dealing with adult situations without it being like, you know, we have to take it to the utmost extreme kind of shit. Because like essentially this is, you know,
cringe air quotes adult.
Yeah, pretty much like edgelord shit. Instead we're like dealing with, you know, animal cruelty and shit like that, and like that kind of dodgy ethics stuff, but you know, without necessarily having it be like human trafficking or something. Which I guess depending on how they could handle that could either be edgelordy or not, but still. Yeah, it's funny because I don't think this retained my attention all the time. It might just be because I have seen this before. So my brain didn't feel like I had to pay as much attention. But it was still a solid episode. It's it's funny because I say it's one of the better Torchwood episodes, but if I'm quite honest, that bar is very low. So it's not very hard to just step over it. But I mean, series 2 is a lot less blah than series 1.
Yeah, series 2 is already the
so,
far
yeah.
milestones ahead of where season 1 was. It's just like, eek.
Yeah, by this point, they may have found their footing.
But yeah, I would definitely say this is worth checking out. It is kind of annoying that we don't really get much. I mean, again, like as I said before, we can't really, but it's like it does kind of suck that we don't get like proper like Gwen having to own up really to the shit she did. But I guess at the very least, it's nice that she kind of has this moment, which probably would have been my like backup favorite scene, is just her confronting the rest of the team and being like, "No, I'm fucking sick of this. I'm sick of lying to him. If you're gonna do that to him, then you're gonna have to do it to me too," sort of a thing. Where it's like, oh, thank God. She's finally just like, I'm sick of all this bullshit. Either I'm out or you let him keep his memories. But yeah, it is one of those things of also remembering, and I've always got in the back of my head, it's like, I mean, you did all this stuff though, and you slept around behind his back and all this. So it's like, Gwen ain't perfect, but at least they're finally pushing her in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for yours?
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at this as an episode that's designed to, bring the Reese character more into the fold. I think it was a very good choice of an episode to do that. It was, as we've mentioned, it avoids the pitfalls that a lot of Torchwood falls into. And in doing so, it manages to make, Reese's, I don't know if introduction of the team is too strong of a word, but I don't know a better way to say it. But his becoming more involved, it manages to make that into a high point, and definitely not as poor as it could be. The plot is pretty solid. There's definitely a few holes, but not as much as there could be. Not as much as some of the episodes we've reviewed recently. And yeah, some dodgy visuals. They don't ruin the story, but they do make it a little less solid than they could be, especially on repeated viewings. So I would say it's better than average. Not perfect, but it's in a good place.
Yep.
Time for ratings.
I'll be giving this one a 4.5. Very close, but just not quite there. A few fixes need to happen, and then we could have been there.
Okay. Alex?
You know what? There's enough stuff I have that even though to a point it didn't retain my attention as well as it could have. Also, don't think there's enough bad for me to penalize it too much. So yeah, I'll agree with Matt and give it a 4.5.
For a second, I thought you were going for a 5.0.
Oh no, it was more like I was more so going between possibly a 4 and a 4.5, and I was like,
Gotcha.
It got like, if it had retained my attention more, I might have been tempted to give it a 5, but
gotcha. Yeah, I'm leaning between 4.0 and 4.5, but ultimately I think the things that bothered me didn't really bother me that much, so I will go with the 4.5. Which makes this a unanimous score of 4.5.
So far?
Yes, until possibly next week. We will see. So let's see if that puts it on par with anything. There's a lot of 4.5s here.
I was going to say, at the very least, from this season, of the podcast alone, it puts it on par with The Infinite Quest and The Nightmare Man, which were both 4.5 so far of what we've done this season.
It's also on par with Torchwood Random Shoes, Sarah Jane Adventure, Death of the Doctor. Really? I do not see those as... Huh. Okay, so maybe the rankings haven't been updated in a bit. I
was going by the season thing.
I do not touch the rankings because that is Ren's territory.
Yeah.
And I do not want to break it.
Yeah.
So it is better than Ghost Machine and Adrift, both from Torchwood. And it is not as good as anything from Torchwood or Sarah Jane. It's not as good as Whatever Happened to Sarah Jane or Countryside.
Yeah, those visuals in particular what pull it back from being Countryside, because Countryside did not rely on those visuals.
Right, yeah, there was no need for any sort of special effects there, really.
They did a very good job of
maybe
keeping it
some
clean.
makeup, but that was,
Yeah, makeup and a few on-set visual effects, but nothing that needs to be digitized, at least not as much.
All right, so that wraps up our review of Meat. Those who are watching, please let us know in the comments. What did you think of this episode? Did you think it was as good as we said it was? Do you think it was any lower than that? And don't forget to like the video and subscribe and ring the bell to keep getting our exports on YouTube, or follow us on Twitch to get our streams every Tuesday night. Next time we continue with the next episode of Series 2 of Torchwood with Adam, written by Catherine Tregenna and starring John Barrowman as Jack Harkness, Eve Miles as Gwen Cooper, Bern Gorman as Owen Harper, Naoko Mori as Toshiko Sato, Gareth David-Lloyd as Yanto Jones, and Kai Owen as Reese Williams.
All right, see you all next time.